When I was going to have surgery, I had all kinds of questions. Some of them were a little on the embarrassing side, if you know what I mean. You really shouldn't worry about asking anybody any kind of question you want. But let me give you a head start by telling you what it was like when I had my surgery. I couldn't believe how early we had to be at the hospital. It was still dark out. At least you don't have to get up in time for breakfast. You know why? Because you can't have any breakfast. You gotta have surgery on an empty stomach. Let's talk about how to take care of your parents. My folks were jumpier than I was. Try to take it easy on them. Let your mom baby you a little bit. She'll feel better. You may be having the operation, but they've got nothing to do but sit around and wait, which is a really good reason not to drag any little brothers or sisters along with you. Trust me, they'll be happier at home. I'll tell you what I was most worried about. Was I gonna have to wear one of those hospital gowns that opens down the back? Well, the bad news is, yeah, you do. The good news? These days they give you a pair of pants, plus a robe, so it's really not so bad. They're gonna check your temperature, and your blood pressure, and your weight, and your height, and anything else they can measure. And be prepared. Everybody's going to ask you about a million questions that you've already answered. They like to double check everything. Sooner or later, you're gonna get an IV. That's one of these bags on a pole with a tube going into your hand. It's how they give you fluids if you can't drink anything. Well, good news. They've got this new miracle goo called Emla cream. They'll smear it on your hand about an hour or so before they put the IV in, so it really hardly even hurts. Okay, so now you're all dressed up with no place to go. They've got a TV in the room, but you know what TV's like at 7 in the morning. So you might want to bring a couple of good books. When it was time to go, I hitched a ride on one of those gurney things. You know, a bed on wheels. We waited for a while in a place just outside the operating rooms. I got a visit from my old pal, Dr. Morgan, all dressed up for the surgery. He gave us a rundown on what he was going to do in the OR. That's doctor talk for operating room. He told me I wouldn't feel anything while I was asleep, but if I had any pain when I woke up, it was important to tell the nurse so she could give me something for it. There's a special doc called an anesthesiologist who helps you sleep through the operation. The anesthesiologist gives you anesthetic. That's the stuff that makes you fall asleep. They'll give it to you through the IV, you know, that tube in your hand. Finally, it was time to go. First, I had to put on the dumbest hat in the world. My mom kept saying, "Are you sure you don't want me to come with you?" See, the anesthesiologist said one of my parents could go to the operating room and stay till I fell asleep. With my folks, I thought it'd be better if they took care of each other. So now we're on our way to the OR. I kind of hoped it was going to be like you see on TV, with the cart crashing through the doors and everybody running around yelling, "Clear!" It's a lot more boring than that. Everybody's really calm and in a good mood. Makes you wonder what else you see on TV that isn't true. I couldn't believe how many people it takes to do an operation. Everybody's got their job to do, and most of it had to do with hooking something up to me. They put a cuff on my arm to measure my blood pressure. They put EKG stickers on my chest to measure my heartbeat. They even put a thing called a pulse oximeter on my finger. That was to measure the oxygen in my blood. They really keep an eye on you in there. They put the IV in my hand too. That Emla cream really works. I could sort of feel it going in, but it didn't hurt. Okay, now this is cool. They have a CD player in the operating room, and you can bring in whatever music you want. I'm not so sure it helped them relax, but it made me feel right at home. Nobody seemed to mind answering questions. I had a lot of them. What does this do? What's that for? I think I was getting a little nervous. I was actually kind of glad when it was time to go to sleep. I remember being worried about whether I was going to be able to doze off. Well, let me tell you, Dr. Sanders gave me some anesthetic through the IV. I was out like a light. I mean, I have to take their word for it that they did the surgery at all. Because the next thing I know, I'm waking up in another room, and the nurse tells me it's all over. I've still got all these tubes and, you know, wires attached to me. And yes, I'm still wearing the hat. Well, after a while, they roll me up to my room and tuck me back in bed. My folks are all over me. I'm feeling a little bit achy. I gotta tell you, you're probably not gonna feel so great when you wake up. But if you hurt, just tell the nurse. That's what I did, and she gave me some pain medicine through the IV. That stuff works pretty fast. Dr. Morgan comes in to tell us how it went. He's looking pretty happy. He says everything went just fine. After a while, I actually started to get a little hungry. I had some juice, a little ice cream. That's one of the perks of having surgery. Oh, another perk is you get the red carpet treatment when you go home. I mean, it wasn't like I couldn't have walked. But I figure, why turn down a free ride? Well, that's what it was like when I had my surgery. Sorry if you were expecting something a little more dramatic. It was really pretty routine. My advice, ask anybody anything you want to know. The more you know what to expect, the more you can relax. And the more you relax, the easier the day is for everybody. By the way, if you're really nice, they let you keep the hat.